at this event and did what any, I think, reasonable millennials would do, and walked up to the president of the company and asked for the Facebook password.
This is the L3 Leadership Podcast, episode number 244. Hey, podcast family, and welcome to another episode of the L3 Leadership Podcast, where we are obsessed with helping you grow to your maximum potential and to maximize the impact of your leadership. My name is Doug Smith, and I am your host, and in today's episode, you'll hear me interview Kay and Shi, who are two sisters that I had the opportunity to hear speak at the John Maxwell team training that I attended last year, and when I heard them speak, they were absolutely incredible. They spoke on marketing, and I knew I had to interview them as soon as I heard them. And so let me just tell you what you need to know about Kay and Shi. They helped grow their family restaurant, Squeeze In, which they now own, into a national brand featured on the Food Network and in the New York Times. They lead the business as it serves millions of guests each year across multiple states. They're often recognized for their unique marketing strategies, and they're actually now a part of the marketing faculty for the leadership expert and best-selling author John Maxwell. And so they are absolutely incredible. They're high energy. They're a ton of fun. And in the interview, you'll hear us talk about entrepreneurship. We talk about marketing and how to host world-class events. Just get ready. You're going to learn a ton and enjoy the interview. But before we get started, just a few announcements. Leaders, I am so excited to invite you to our second annual L3 One-Day Leadership Conference that's being held on Friday, March 13th, 2020, right here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have an incredible lineup of speakers for you this year. We have Jeff Henderson, who is a pastor at North Point Church and works with Andy Stanley. He also recently authored the book 4, and that book is so incredible that we're actually giving a copy away to everyone in attendance at L3 One Day this year. And I've heard the talk that Jeff is going to give at the conference, and as soon as I heard it, I knew I had to have him speak at L3 One Day and share this talk. And leader, I'm telling you, you are not going to want to miss this conference just for that talk alone. In addition to Jeff, we have many other incredible speakers. We have Laura Ellsworth, who's the partner in charge of global community service initiatives at Jones Day. She's one of the best speakers I've ever heard in my life. We have Bill Strickland, who's the founder and the chairman of the Bidwell Training Center here in Pittsburgh. We have Greg Weimer, who's the partner of Confluence Financial, and a few others, and it is just going to be an incredible day. But leader, let me tell you why that I believe that you and your team need to be in the room at L3 One Day, more than just who's speaking. It's because I believe you are one idea and one connection away from changing your destiny and the destiny of your organization. I'll say that again. I believe you are one idea and one connection away from changing your destiny and the destiny of the organization. Leaders, get in the room, because here's what I know. You have no idea what you're missing when you're not in the room. I love what Gerald Brooks said. He said this about being in the room. He said, leadership can be taught, but it has to be caught. And when you're in a room with high-level leaders, you feel it. And often in leadership, it's not the lesson that you need, it's the life of a leader that you need. And I know for me personally, it's been the lives of the leaders that I've been able to connect with at events like L3 One Day that have meant everything for my growth. And so please join us. We're offering a special discount for podcast listeners. You can go to l3oneday.com to register and use the promo code podcast to get 10% off of your ticket. Again, that's promo code podcast and you'll get 10% off your ticket. This episode of the podcast is sponsored by Baritone Advisors. The financial advisors at Baritone Advisors help educate and empower clients to help make informed financial decisions. Find out how Baritone Advisors can help you develop a customized financial plan for your financial future. Please visit their website at Baritone Advisors, that's BERATUNG, advisors.com. Securities and investment products and services offered through Waddell & Reed, Inc., member FINRA and SIPC. Baritone Advisors, Waddell & Reed, and L3 Leadership are separate entities. And with all that being said, let's dive right in. Here's my interview with Kay and Shi. Enjoy. Well, hey, Kay and Shi, thank you so much for being willing to take time to do this interview. And why don't we just start off with you just telling us a little bit about who you are and what you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm Kay, and this is my sister, Shila. We sound a lot alike, so we'll do our best to call it out when one of us is talking versus the other. But we are sister restaurant owners out of Reno, Nevada, born and raised, home means Nevada to us. And we are also faculty members for the John Maxwell team for their marketing lane. So have a lot of pots in the fire, in the kitchen, if you will. Also being mothers and wives, I think juggling the entrepreneurship life can be a little difficult, but we have each other, and it certainly makes it easier when you've got a good partner along the way.
And I'm certainly going to ask you about entrepreneurship, but I'm just curious, how did you even get into this as a family? Was this a family business and you guys just had that entrepreneurial spark? How did that happen?
We are sisters. And so when our parents growing up, actually, when I was born, this is Shila, the older one. When I was born, our parents were on food stamps and welfare and really had family living with us and scraping to make ends meet and garage sales to make the rent, and really watched them bootstrap themselves up and become solid working class people with good working class jobs. But they had this dream to buy a restaurant in Truckee, California called the Squeeze In. They fell in love with it. Dad was a landscaper. He would do landscaping for the gentleman who owned it. And so when they got that opportunity, when Kay was 10 and I was 17, to buy that restaurant, they acted so rationally. And you guys can all guess where this is going. They cashed in their savings in retirement, quit their careers, literally called in every family favor they could, and dropped everything and moved to Truckee to become restaurant folk. So we kind of became a restaurant family overnight.
And did you guys just have a knack for that and it became apparent that you guys had leadership gifting, or did your parents have leadership gifting? Because when I read what you guys have done, you grew the restaurant from one location with 7 employees to now 12 locations, and it's an 8-figure family business. Was that primarily you guys just recognizing gifts that were in you that you didn't know were there? I'm just curious how that journey happened.
It starts with a lot of messing up, and then you follow it with reflection. Yes, but I think that, of course, leaning into natural abilities is a part of it. Our mom always had that really entrepreneurial spirit, and what an entrepreneur is someone who is in an organization, even if they're not like the leader of the organization or the owner of the organization, who takes great, or what normal people would consider great, financial risk. So that's really what an entrepreneur is. And our mom has that spirit. She'll bet the farm to get a real pretty new farm. And that's exactly what she did with the Squeeze In. And so have been able to carry that forward, but it certainly hasn't always been easy. And we have certainly had to develop the skill of leadership, because it's not like, oh, I'm just born with this talent of leadership. It has to be developed. And it took a lot of mistakes along the way, and a lot of reflection and a lot of growth.
I would add to that, success requires support. And success requires community and cultivation and mentorship. So when other kids were hearing Cinderella, we were hearing the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People growing up. That was literally what mom would read at bedtime stories. So gifted with, obviously, parents who had the passion and pursuit of personal growth and development. So that's always been ingrained in us for a long time. Of course, being 10 and 17 when mom and dad bought a restaurant, like, you're just the owner's kids at that point,
doing homework on the back table,
bussing tables and taking orders, working my way through college at that point, and kind of just got to really get to know the business from that real ground level. At first, I think both of us were kind of like, I'm not sure if we want to be part of the restaurant. After about a year and a half, I was like, I know this is where I'm going to be. I know I'm going to be part of this, and I want to do this. And so started just learning. Same with Kay. I mean, Kay was still living at home at the time, so she's in the office with mom.
Oh, I couldn't escape it. Yeah. Oh,
she's like spewing marketing teaching at you.
They would put us to work. We would cook the biscuits, because we didn't even have an oven at the restaurant location. So we cooked the biscuits at our house. We didn't have enough money for a laundry service, so we would do all of our own apron laundry and all of our own washcloths and stuff. And so when you have a kid who then works in the restaurant, you come home, you got to do all this stuff. Like, I got put to work. Yep. Child labor.
Completely legal in a family business, just so everyone knows.
And then at some point you guys got into it, were learning the business. And then did you guys eventually, your parents handed it off to you and then you started expanding? Did your parents expand it?
Yeah. So in 2008, so mom and dad bought the first restaurant in 2003, towards the end of that year. In 2008, they brought on my husband and I as partners and said, let's open a second location in Reno, Nevada, which is our hometown. It's 30 miles down the hill from Truckee. We have a little bit of that financial ability to put that forward, but we need someone who has the energy and the time and kind of that sweat equity to be the boots on the ground and open the second location. So that's how we came into the partnership. Kay joined soon after, and then we all worked together as a cohesive unit. And in 2013, that's when kind of the fateful thing happened. A lot of things happened, but really that was a very defining, pivotal year for us because we had grown to 4 locations. So we bought this one failing restaurant. We're up to 4 locations. We're on Food Network. We've got all these trappings of success, and yet we're feeling trapped by the success. And mom and dad end up foreclosing on their house and moving into our living room so that we could pay the payroll. So on the outside, things looked great, but on the inside, we were breaking from trying to grow that fast. And that's when Kay read a book by a certain author, Dr. John Maxwell, and brought it forward to mom, said, hey, you guys, we've always been personal growth and development junkies. I don't know if you've ever read this guy. And it basically changed everything.
What book was that?
It was the 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader.
Wow. What shift took place through that book? I'm just curious. Obviously, I'm a huge Maxwell fan.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I was 19 when I picked up that book for the first time. So I want you to just imagine any 19-year-old ever. I thought I knew everything. I was kind of petulant. I, didn't have a whole lot of perspective. And I was taking on leadership roles within the restaurant company and was taking on leadership roles. I unlike Shila, didn't get in 1.5 years in and was like, I want to do this forever. I kind of got in and was like, I need to go figure out my life for me. And was seeing that I was quickly moving into leadership positions, even outside of the restaurant, but people weren't doing what I told them to do because I'm the leader and you're supposed to do what I tell you to do because my title says manager. And what the 21 Indispensable Qualities of a Leader did for me was help to temper the fact that leadership isn't about the leader. It's about the followers. And 2, that in order to cultivate qualities, you have to actually work at them and practice them. It's not like, we talked about this at the beginning. It's not like you're born a leader. Like there's no such thing as a born leader, but it was a skill. And I had never had anyone in a reading or teaching like that say something like this, like learning how to communicate effectively with people. It's skill-based. It's not talent or natural ability based. And a light bulb went off for me like, oh, it will work if I work it.
Wow. And did the book have the same impact on the whole family and you guys just started empowering people and equipping people and that was the shift needed? What was the outcome of that?
Boy, I wish things happened that fast. Doesn't everybody want that? I think,
in the books it is, right? Yeah.
In the movies.
In the words of Jim Rohn, you can change direction overnight, but you can't change destination overnight. So we certainly had that direction, clarity shift. Kay brings the book forward. Mom goes, wow, this is amazing. At the back of the book, there's an ad for the John Maxwell team. She joins the team and goes and gets certified in August and famously comes home and we said, uh-oh, mom joined a cult. Like, what is this?
She was a totally different person. It was nuts.
It was nuts. And she shifted from focusing on processes, systems, and efficiencies to focusing on people, systems, and efficiencies. And of course, he's got these 2 millennial daughters who are like, we've been saying this the whole time. So once all of us could get in alignment with that, then all of the work of getting finance under control and bringing a little bit more structure into things like sometimes your heart tells you this is the right investment or another location is the right thing. And sometimes your checkbook doesn't agree. And having to be able to tether the entrepreneurial spirit with principles and practices that will set you up for long-term success is kind of sometimes the thing that can make or break. Lots of entrepreneurs end up breaking because they grow too fast. Lots of people never get off the ground because they don't grow at all. So finding that good middle ground was helpful for us. And John's teaching and this focus on culture and people and that values-based, really organizational structure was that direction shift that helped us. It took another 2 to 3 years of really kind of now being a little bit more accountable when it came to what we were doing with our finances, to having more culture building, using some of those finances in order to invest in our team and to bring some more culture-based, value-based things into our team. It took some time to start seeing that momentum shift and that consistency compound. But once it did, we've really, we've seen a catapult. So pre-John Maxwell, you've got about 10 years there of getting from one location to 4. And post John Maxwell, you've got this growth from 4 locations to a franchise company and 12 locations. So you can really see in the numbers that impact of focusing on people and culture and values.
That's incredible. And I'm just curious, can you share any examples of things you do intentionally to add value to the people in your organization and how that's worked?
Yeah, would love to. I mean, actually, just 2 weeks ago, we put on a retreat up in Lake Tahoe for 26 of our managers, both front of house and back of house. We actually had a Spanish interpreter there to help for our Spanish speaking associates. And we poured into them, not just from a professional level, like here's how to, pour better orange juice at the restaurant. But we poured into them from a personal level, helping them dive into what are some of the things that are blocking you in your life and how can you overcome that? So really putting that money where your mouth is, if you will. We talk about culture being important and how it needs to be an investment that people make. I mean, that was a 5-figure event that we put on for our people and it was worth it. And we're about to put on another one for all 200 employees in January because it's important to invest not just in them as the professional inside your setting, but also in them as the human being that they are.
But as a business person and as, coming from kind of how business and capitalism is structured, that's hard to get that on the P&L, right? Hey, I want to spend 10 G's on taking everybody to fly through zip lines in Tahoe and learn about their strengths and talk about personal growth. It's hard to sometimes rationalize that on the P&L. And so you can see why that line item gets crossed off. But it's so sad because it means so much for future P&Ls. But, that's a struggle for especially small businesses and small entrepreneurs in the U.S. and beyond, because you're looking at the mechanics of what your business needs and the operations of what it needs. And ultimately, sometimes the culture and the values piece gets axed because it's not needed right away.
I was going to talk about this later, but I'm curious that you were willing to spend that much on your team in a getaway event. And one thing that you guys do is live event planning. You do an incredible job. In fact, that's how I discovered you guys at John Maxwell. Before I ask you questions about events, can you just briefly share how you actually got involved in some of the event marketing and production of the John Maxwell team? Because I just think it's a great story that leaders can learn from.
Yeah, absolutely. So Kay here, just keep you on track as who's talking. So in 2015, after our mom had joined the cult, she was in it for 2 years. She had convinced Shila and I to join as well. And so August of 2015, we went to get certified at the International Maxwell Certification, which at the time, the secret thing that wasn't in the story we told at the Maxwell event, it used to be just called the live event. There wasn't even a name for it. It was just the live event.
Wow.
So first off, we're reasonable millennial women. So we're like, let's go see what's a hashtag that I should be using. I'm going to be posting while I'm here. What should I be hashtagging? And we went online and there was nothing. It was silent. I mean, there were 2,000 people growing toward their dreams, going toward their passion, going toward the things that they want in their life. And no one was talking about it online. There wasn't even a cohesive message about what was going on. I mean, no one even knew what to call it.
Yeah.
What do you even call it? They just called it the live event. I'm at the live event. What the heck does that even mean? So we're at this event and did what any, I think, reasonable millennials would do and walked up to the president of the company and asked for the Facebook password to get on and start building out, can we just do some content? So he said yes. Thank goodness. Had no idea how audacious that was. But he gave us the reins to their Facebook and to their Twitter. And we trended on Twitter. The numbers were off the charts. People were seeing what was happening at the event, getting inspired and joining the team right then and there. And they saw the power. 2 weeks later, we were in Palm Beach negotiating a contract to come on and build a marketing system for the John Maxwell team, which has now accounted for over $90 million in sales. But they also said, look, y'all did this event thing really well. Can you come in and do the social media portion? So the first time we did it, we just came in and social paparazzi the event. And then we're like, you guys, we're social paparazziing, but there's something that we could do to make it better. We could name it. We could brand it. We could turn it into a show. We could make it more energetically appealing to the people who are here to increase your return rates and to promote what's going on in this event. So they handed us the reins of the production as well. And then that's where we are today.
And before I jump into your advice for events, did you have experience in this prior? I mean, is this just come from your marketing skills and knowledge in the restaurant business?
Well, Doug, I'm so glad you asked that. We did a lot of marketing and innovative grassroots kind of out of the box guerrilla style marketing with our restaurant company through the years. We have a loyalty club that's got over 70,000 households in it. We've been building that since 2008. We were on Food Network with Throwdown with Bobby Flay. We've been in the New York Times twice. We've been in the Washington Street Journal. We've been all over the place. And that's happened very intentionally. But as we grew, everyone asked us, who does your marketing? Who does your marketing? Who does your marketing? And we were always like, well, we do. And so eventually then opened kind of this boutique agency. Well, Kay really led that initiative. So that by the time we got ourselves into that room asking for the Facebook password, we had a marketing agency where we were servicing not only our own restaurant, but other restaurant clients, a few other clients as well, and had this thing going. So we didn't just kind of out of a vacuum say, hey, give us your Facebook credentials. We came out and said, hey, we run a lot of Facebook pages. We do marketing. Mom used to be a partner in an advertising firm. Give us some trust and let us do this as a value add. So that was kind of how we got up and into that space.
From the event perspective, we hadn't done major events like this before, but what we are really good at is creating experiences, as we've got to do that within our restaurant company. So we were there to create that experience, and it was able to translate.
Love it. So yeah, can you talk a little bit about when you think about creating a world-class experience, because that's what IMC was to me. What's involved? We have a one-day leadership conference. I'm just curious, if you were consulting with me right now, what do I need to be thinking about as an event planner to make it world-class? Because you guys are certainly experts.
Yeah.
And is there power in wearing red bows? Is that what they're called?
The red bows definitely do give you some power.
Yeah. I was like, every volunteer needs red bows. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. There is power in having something that makes it memorable and a differentiator for the people who are working the event or for VIPs. I mean, that's just a great practice, best practice across the board, no matter what you're doing, and even John talks about have something memorable, have a hook, have a something. And then, he likes to profile that I've got this person who always texts me an encouraging thing, and I have this person who always brings a book forward. So what is the thing that you get known for or memorable for? Mm-hmm. Red bows has certainly become one of those things for us at the IMC, and it makes sense, right? It's easy for people to find from the stage. John knows he can look for a red bow and ask a question, and everybody knows the red bows know what's going on, and I can ask them. So it's a great strategy for a lot of different reasons. Whether you're serving someone for 45 minutes at a table with a mimosa and bacon and eggs, or you're hosting them at a 3-day world-class event, it comes down to that experience piece, right? So you're not selling the certification. You're not selling the features of the event. You're not selling the bacon and eggs. You're selling the experience. You're providing an environment for the feelings they want to feel. And that's ultimately what makes a great event or a great breakfast or great experience at a florist or, anything in between. Is really about that experience, which means engaging the senses. It means having a lot of foresight into what are the things that all of us as people deal with. John says, and Paul Martinelli says, there's 2 things you don't want to compete with, and that's people's bladders and their stomachs. So don't hold them in the room forever, and make sure they know when they're going to get fed. Because if you're trying to compete with those things, they're not even receptive to what you're saying. We have hours of event advice, but the experience really matters, and engaging those 5 senses is the first thing that I would say. Kay, I know you've got more to add.
Well, from an event organizer perspective, the way that you can take the experience reins, if you will, is to, when you're visualizing your event, because if you're not visualizing your event as an event producer, that's something you should start doing immediately. Please. When you're visualizing your event, visualize every single step that it takes for your attendee and what that looks like. I mean, when a John Maxwell team member comes to the event, they're getting a key card at the front desk that is John Maxwell specific to what we're doing, that's within the theme for the event, because every single touch point matters. If somebody walks into the restaurant and somebody doesn't say between 10 and 15 seconds, good morning, how are you doing? We're falling down on our job for the experience. So from an attendee standpoint, top to bottom, scrub it down, get in their shoes. I'm sitting in the auditorium on the left-hand side, and the way that the camera is positioned completely blocks every view of the screen that I have, but you would never know that if you didn't take the care to do a walkthrough of the room ahead of time and just make sure, can everybody see the screens from about where they are? And if there's this giant thing in the middle, is the experience for our member still going to be top-notch? So really taking responsibility for every step of the experience, utilizing both the meeting of their expectations, but then, of course, just the exceeding of the expectations, which is where I think Shi was getting at with that surprise and delight above and beyond.
Yeah. I think two other things to add to that too would be, one, take responsibility in terms of edutaining, which is one thing we like to say, right? It's like you have to educate them. They're there to learn something, but everybody wants to be entertained and we want to be engaged with what's happening. So like, how are we making it a fun experience for them? Not just, well, I'm fire hosing my information and, you're here to learn how to make a website, but how do we make that entertaining for people? So I think taking responsibility in that sense. And then Kay, you hit on it with the how do things see? But one thing we swear by is music matters.
Big time.
Music matters.
Big
like
time.
anytime there's someone walking up on the stage, please do not make them walk up to like a silent room.
Or like this.
Ends, and then they have to make like the rest of the trek in silence. So music matters a lot.
Yeah.
If you don't mind, I would love to ask because that was one of the key takeaways when I was planning my event. It's just like, yep. Do you guys do a DJ? Do you guys create the playlists? What do you? I'm just curious how you pick the music because I mean, literally, it was world class, and I would hate to have seen what it was before you guys got involved.
Well, every single person walked up onto the stage to pew 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 pew. And there's like 25 stage transitions during the course of the event. So that was the same song over and over and over. There are a couple of music, like for us at least, that we create our own playlist. We do not do a live DJ. That just allows someone else's opinions to kind of bleed into what you're doing, unless it's somebody that you know, like, and trust very well, but music is really important. We don't allow anything that's below 125 BPMs inside our playlists for the kind of that in-room. Usually we're shooting for 130 BPM or more, and I will Google song BPMs just to make sure that they fit within what we're doing, because the heart beats on average at about 70 to 90 beats per minute. So you're at about the BPM, but we want it to be faster than the average human heartbeat. We want it to feel like you're picking up and gaining that energy, and a beat has the ability to help your energy move in that direction. So the other thing that we do is do our best to keep them clean, because F words tend to make people listen more and sometimes can be a little bit distracting. And then we do our best to find music that has positive lyrics or a positive message. Obviously, if we're going to do a walk-up song, we're going to find the most ooncy thing we can. But the in-room playlist, the one that gets turned on when people are milling around, matters a lot. And that playlist has been cultivated very intentionally to include positive lyrics, high BPM, and clean songs.
Do you guys share that playlist on Spotify? Literally, I'm like, they could not have done this better. Anyway,
it's called the IMC in-room playlist, and you can totally use it. It's all yours.
Available to the public. We also laugh too. You should use this song because everyone does, but it is the quintessential conference event song. Everyone uses it, and it is "Can't Stop the Feeling."
Yes. And you guys have dancers. How important was that? I thought that added a ton of energy. Was that something you guys added?
That is, well, actually, there's always been dancing when doors open. It used to be everyone could come up on stage, and it was just a little bit of a rah-rah, and songs would play. Once we took on, it was like we want a little bit more of a mix, so we started working with some DJs ahead of time to put a mix together, so you don't hear a song for 3 minutes, because that gets boring in a big room. You kind of want to hear it change every minute or so. And then with the discovery of some professional dancers within our team, bringing the next step forward of, let's put some moves up there, let's make it a team. We can't have 3,000 people rush a stage that's got a $300,000 screen on it. What can we do? We can have a dance team up there that's encouraging these moves and cohesiveness among the group. And it's kind of just rolled from there. So dance team is my, Shila, personal favorite part of IMC. I love dancing.
And she kills it.
I love being part of it. It's super fun.
Any other advice on events that you guys want to leave us with?
Yes, really, just one of the biggest mistakes that we see event organizers make, especially if it's a first timer or you're like a singleton, like you're just like me and I'm putting on an event for my community or whatever, is that oftentimes we put on an event, the event that we would want to go to. And Shila and I have fallen guilty of this before as well. But the event that you're putting on has nothing to do with you. Maybe you're going to get up on the stage. Maybe, yes, this is about representing your brand, but this is about adding value to the audience, and taking responsibility for their experience means not just throwing the conference that you've always wanted to attend, but really considering who is it that's in the room? Why are they coming here? And how does this total experience, help to have them leave with the outcome that they're looking for, instead of what is the message that I want to convey to people? What is it that I can bring to them that they need to be leaving with from an experiential level?
Yeah, I want to add to that too and just say that the path to a successful event is paved with an engaged and active and excited audience. And so a lot of us kind of come into the scene and think, I want to do events, or I'm going to do this event, I'm going to throw an event. Selling tickets and getting people in the room, it's like one of the hardest things you can do. It's hard for John. It's hard for Tony Robbins. It is hard to get people into a room for something like personal growth and development or leadership development, unless their company's going to put it on for them. So we often see that tip of the iceberg, or the thing that we really want is that event. But what's under that is people asking for the event and a lot of work ahead of time. So just wanting people to be aware, you envision yourself on a stage, so you throw an event. Do you have the foundation there, an audience or a network, or the budget to spend on advertising beforehand so that you can fill the room and feel successful?
So you guys have talked about this. You're clearly experts at marketing as well. And I'm just curious. I'll just leave this open-ended because you're the experts. Where are people missing it when it comes to marketing and communications within their organization?
I think a lot of people are missing the two-way conversation. And a lot of larger companies are starting to get on this, but I think for smaller entrepreneurs and for small businesses, it can seem like it's enough to just put your message out there, put your message out there, put your message out there. But how often are we engaging back? How often are you asking a question and actually moving forward with what it was you said you were going to do with that person or with that prospect? So I think that would be one of my biggest places that I think people are missing, that they think the conversation's one-sided, but it's really two-way.
Or I think that people understand that there's this need for conversation and relational, and you're seeing that shift. I think there's this genuine desire for that, but we all fall on old patterns, and it's hard not to, as Kay was kind of talking about, this push mentality of pushing messages on people, or pushing, kind of your what you want them to know, your communication on them, rather than getting in front of them and trying to pull them towards you, and really being intentional, which means being specific, understanding what their pain points are, talking about the benefits and not the features of whatever it is that you're trying to get them on board with, and ultimately building the relationship that way. Like if we're going to look at that as in a sales marketing message way, you could tell someone you need to lose weight. I have a program that helps you lose weight, and that like pushes them towards it. Or you can tell them, hey, do you want to fit into your skinny jeans again? Right? Do you want to get more dates? And that's a much more pulling message. It's more specific. It's more niche oriented.
Is that taking responsibility for the person that's in your audience? Marketing and events have a lot of similarities to them. And that's exactly what you're talking about, is taking responsibility for the listener. It's one of John's principles from Everyone Communicates, You Connect.
And I'm just curious for the organizations that might be out there like John, where, maybe they think they're doing a good job marketing, but all of a sudden two people show up and change everything for them. How can people actually assess whether or not they actually do a good job as an organization with marketing?
Couple of things. Are people outside of your organization actively talking about the organization? Like, is it generating buzz within the community or within the industry? And if not, you might just have a bunch of, like, I don't want to say blind leading the blind, but it's like fans talking to fans. Like if I am a Niners fan and I go to my other Niners fan here and be like, aren't the Niners so great? They're like, yeah, Niners are so great. But unless I get out and go to an Oakland Raiders fan and they say, actually, your quarterback sucks and we should talk about how the defense works, I'm not going to get any better. And I have no chance to convert that Oakland Raiders fan into a Niners fan because I never created the conversation in the first place because I've been living inside my own little echo chamber.
Yeah, I think too, success is subjective. So, how does someone know if they're successful? Like if they think they're being successful and they're hitting the numbers they want and they're good with where they are, then they're a success. And I think the other thing too, success is subjective. And then is our marketing being successful for us? Is it doing what we want it to do? Like, are people asking? Are people coming forward? Is the tribe building on its own? Is there momentum? Do the people who work for you want to recommend people that they know to work for them? That's one of the best ways to know that you're doing a good job in your company, is if your people who are working for you say, I have a friend and I want them to work here, then it's like, oh yeah, we're doing it, we're executing, and we're clearly marketing in that relational way because it's very one-on-one. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I did want to ask you guys, so you're running all these restaurants, you have a marketing company, event, you guys also have families. How do you view work-life balance and how do you stay on top of everything and not burn out?
We don't.
We don't. We have a team that helps us big time. Big
support
team.
system and network.
Huge support system. And have done a good job and continue to focus on decentralizing the restaurant so that they run as their own little microcosms. And then obviously being moms, we have literally, I think, world's best team of hubbies who are really good at helping out on
and in-laws and nannies and school and all kinds of just, support network. It takes a village in all kinds of different ways, not just in parenting, but in growing a business. And I mean, we're really lucky too. We have partners. We aren't in it alone. We have each other, which is a big help for us, but we definitely do not do it all. We have teams of people and we really rally a team around and try and do that and put people in their strength zone. And we strive for harmony, not balance. So sometimes we're at IMC in Orlando for 11 days and we're there and we don't talk to our kids at all. And then sometimes, we get to go on vacation for 3 weeks with the kids and really unplug and be with the family and fill that cup. So we really seek to try and find harmony and not balance.
Okay, with the few minutes we have left, I want to take you through at least a few lightning round questions. But this one's not on there, but I am curious, do you guys ever fight? And how easily do you resolve conflict amongst one another?
I would say we don't fight, but we rumble. We are not afraid to get out into the ring and have candor with each other, but never with brutal honesty. We want to be open, but not hurtful. And absolutely, there are candid conversations. There has to be. Yeah. If you even want to open the door of how I feel about raisins and how she feels about raisins, we'll be here for a half an hour.
We have a lot of petty things that we fight about. And we absolutely fight about them because raisins are obviously delicious. They are nature's chocolate chip. They belong in oatmeal cookies, and they are so good.
They are high in sugar and calories. They make no sense. They are like little old people fruit. Not a fan.
So sometimes we just agree to disagree.
Love it. What's the best piece of advice you've ever received, and who gave it to you?
Do you want to go first?
Sure do. Well, I think we go. So I'll do the first question. You do the second. Because these are lightning round, right? Yeah. Okay. Yep. Perfect. 2 words: consistency compounds. And this comes from John Maxwell himself. We were lucky enough to help him out with a campaign that he did with a national radio syndicate. The two of them sat down together and he said, Mr. Maxwell, what's the best advice you could possibly give me in all of your years of experience? And John said, consistency compounds. And boy, do we see the compounding effect of consistency in our lives.
Yep.
If you could put a quote on a billboard for everyone to read, what would it say?
It would be a Jim Rohn quote, and it would say, don't wish it were easier, wish you were better.
What's the best purchase you've made in the last year for $100 or less?
Oh my God. Yeah, definitely our Yeti stereo microphone. This one was the $140, but we got the Traveler, which is $79 and probably one of the easiest things for when we're out and about and need to do a quick recording. It's been a great purchase for us.
Favorite book to give away?
Ooh, favorite book to give away. I mean, anything written by John Maxwell, obviously.
But our mom wrote a book, and we give that book away more than any other book that we give away. So,
what's it called?
From Rags to Restaurants is the name of our mom's book. Yep. And then we also really love The Untethered Soul by Michael Singer. We just read that this year, and it's been transformative for us spiritually. Yeah.
Favorite podcast to listen to?
It's called Project You with Cammie Craig. She's a fitness trainer, so mind, body, all the things.
What do you wish people knew about your journey that they may not know?
Mom and Dad didn't just hand us the business. We work our butts off day in and day out. It's been blood, sweat, and tears for us too. And we can get misjudged for being the benefactors of a family business. It's not lost on us the gift that we got in this. And we've worked our butts off to earn it and to achieve for it.
When you get to spend time with a leader like a John Maxwell or Mark or Paul Martinelli, do you have a question that you love to ask every time you interact with someone?
We try to sometimes stick to those John questions, right? Like, who do you know that we should know? One of our favorite questions to ask is, what are the questions that we're not asking? And that's something that we like to ask, particularly when we're trying to pull stuff out of people or getting to know someone or high level. Yeah, what questions should I be asking that I'm not or that I'm missing? And people tend to like that question. But we love to do our homework when it comes to having a high level conversation so that we can ask really intelligent questions based on that person's experience. We really are interested in knowing everyone has massive failures in your life. What's been a massive failure and how have you learned from it?
If you get a Paul Martinelli, a John Maxwell, a really high level person like that, if you get 1 hour of their time, you should spend about an hour of your time preparing for the hour with them.
So good. Aside from your family, what's the greatest return on investment of your time and money right now?
Learning, 1,000% learning. Books, growth, audiobooks, growing. definitely best return on
Yes,
investment.
every year it is a easy for us, not just to go to IMC. That's we work the IMC obviously, but we choose a conference or two a year and go to it. And it is so Herculean to try and get the money together, the schedules together, the everything together. But we go in 4 weeks to Date with Destiny with Tony Robbins, 6-day conference in Florida. It's a big commitment. We could not be more excited.
Nope, it's gonna be great.
One item left on your bucket list?
Just one.
Yeah. We have 2 minutes left, right? Or 1 minute.
Yeah. We want to take our dad to a USC Trojans game when they play in the Rose Bowl. He was born and raised in Southern California. He's got to go to games. Our grandfather taught at USC. So next time they're in the Rose Bowl, that is our goal.
I love it. What would you tell your 20-year-old self if you could have coffee with her?
Calm the F
Relax.
down. And the chick that is talking in your head isn't you. So go ahead and release your identity from your thoughts sooner rather than later.
And what do you want to be remembered for one day?
Delight and energize.
Yeah.
Delighting and energizing.
Same for both of you?
Yeah, we want to bring delight, and we want to be energizing for the world and anyone that we participate and interact with.
And if someone's listening to that and you want to delight them, how can people connect with you and take advantage of everything you guys offer?
We would love it if you followed us on Instagram, Facebook, or Twitter at Kay and Shi. That's KAYANDSHI, Kay and Shi. And then, of course, you can always join us on our Millennial Mentorship podcast, which can be found Spotify, iTunes, pretty much wherever you podcast. We're there. Millennial Mentorship. We would love to have you.
And I'll include links to all of that on the show notes. Anything else you want to leave leaders with today?
Just to say, keep on keeping on. Done beats perfect. Take action. It's okay if your first iteration sucks, because everyone's first iteration sucks. Version 1 always sucks, whether it's your book or your podcast or learning to play piano or the first time you practice football or the first time you get on Facebook and you try and post something or the first time you go to a networking event. It's hard and it sucks, and that's exactly moving in the right direction, so keep going.
That's how it should be. The pressure that comes when you do something new doesn't mean you're on the wrong path. It just means you're doing something new.
So good. Well, hey, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for adding value to me and everyone that will listen to this, and just appreciate everything you guys do and look forward to continuing to following your journey.
Yeah, thanks, Doug.
Thanks, everyone.
I'd like to thank our sponsor, Henny Jewelers. They're a jeweler owned by my friend and mentor, John Henny. My wife, Laura, and I both got our engagement and our wedding rings at Henny Jewelers, and we absolutely love them. Not only do they have great jewelry, but they also invest in people. In fact, they give every engaged couple a book to help them prepare for their marriage, and we just love that. And so if you're in need of a good jeweler, check out Henny Jewelers at hennyjewelers.com. I'd also like to thank our sponsor, BAB Inc. BAB is an insurance broker, a third-party administrator, and consulting firm led by my friend and mentor, Russell Livingston. Russell is extremely passionate about developing the next generation of leaders, which is why he's partnering with us on this podcast, and he's also opened up his offices here in Pittsburgh to host our monthly leadership events, and we are extremely grateful for that. The nonprofit that I work at, Light of Life Rescue Mission, started using BAB as our insurance broker around 3 years ago, and we've had an unbelievable experience with them, and we highly recommend them. So if you or your organization has any insurance needs, please check out and learn more about BAB at babbins.com. That's BABBINS.com. Well, hey, podcast family, thank you so much for listening to my interview with Kay and Shi. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. You can find ways to connect with them and links to everything that we discussed in the show notes at l3leadership.org/episode 244. And don't forget, we're just 2.5 weeks away from L3 One Day. And so don't forget to register you and your team for the conference. And remember to use the promo code podcast for 10% off of your ticket. It's going to be an incredible event. And as always, if this podcast added value to your life, please share it with someone that you know that it would add value to, and leave us a rating and review on iTunes. It does make a difference, and it helps us grow our audience. So thank you in advance for that. And as always, I like to end with a quote. And today I'll quote Gerald Brooks. He's so good. He tweeted this recently. He said, "We must have the tenacity to keep going when everything and everyone says we should quit." So good. Keep going, leader. Do not quit. Hey, thank you for listening and being a part of L3 Leadership. Laura and I appreciate you so much, and we will talk to you next episode.